All right, everyone. Welcome to the ChatGPT session. We'll be talking about ChatGPT, generative AI in general, and some use cases. And we'll also doing some hands-on in terms of learning some prompting, which I think is one of the key skills going forward. So here is what we'll cover. What is ChatGPT? What's GPT or generative AI in general? How does it work? What can it do? Some exciting use cases that I've come across. How you can get started? It's mainly through prompts with ChatGPT at least. So that's why I was saying just sign up for that, and you can follow along. I'll be pasting some of those prompts in the chat, so you can copy paste and try it out. I think the key is to just try it out for us to get started. That's basically it. It's very simple. Um, and then we'll talk about how ChatGPT and this generative AI could be impacting automation, which is the intelligent automation space, which is what the club has been about. We're more becoming a digital club now, but it's how it's impacting automation. So in the club, we have spoken about it a bit. So we'll see a little more, especially for a wider audience. What are the future possibilities of this rule-based automation and beyond rule-based automation? And finally, we'll talk. We'll have, like, I'm hoping around 15 minutes so that we can all chat together in terms of what our thoughts are on this new phenomenon. So we took a picture. So for members and also if whoever wants to join in, we do use a mural. A mural is like a digital board, with post-its. So let me paste that link here so that whoever wants to join can join. The members can put your thoughts. It's a simple mural today. One is, yeah, let's do the energy kickoff. So let's do the energy kickoff. I don't know how many people are here. Not many people. Oh, I just pasted the link, right? So yeah, put your energy level today. So let me put mine. Okay, and then we have a simple prompt. What are your thoughts on ChatGPT and prompt automation? For those who are new here, all you need to do is just double click and then a post-it should show up. And don't expand the post-it, but zoom in, which is scroll in or use your mouse pad. So and then double click and then write your thoughts here, right? So whatever you want, so that when we come to the section on where we are discussing, we'll go here and pick it up and then we'll talk about it. So idea is for all of us to be part of this session. So that was that. So we have started the video recording. That's a checklist for me. So before we start, I just wanted to set some expectations. I know recruiters somewhere are having job posts asking for 7 years of experience in generative AI or chat GPT, and then there are probably resumes floating around saying they have 7 years experience. But just so that we are all learning, just sharing what I've learned so far. And as I said, we have some AI experts here as guests, so we'll take their help as we learn and as we learn this together. And then one more thing is, you go to chat GPT especially and start typing things. It looks like magic. It's answering all your questions, but set your expectations. It's like a kid which has been taught to learn language, and then it speaks very well and confidently, but it may be completely wrong. So just be careful. But there is some magic in it, which we'll talk about. It can be quite harmful, as I said. It can even generate toxic content. So be very careful what you are, taking out of it and sharing. But the key is that it's a tool you can use to generate ideas and to do a lot of your content work, like even emails or reports, and that you can use it as a assistant, but a very good assistant at it. Okay. So just to start and look at the things that's happening in AI, it's been on fire. Just in January, we have had GPT grow to 10 million users. So it went to 1 million in 5 days and 10 million in 40 days. It's an absolute record how ChatGPT has exponentially grown, and that's one of the key things in AI. I see, it's going to be an exponential growth. So we've seen just today Microsoft Teams, not today, yesterday, I think Microsoft Teams has come up with a premium OpenAI based service where you don't need to do meeting minutes or meeting notes or even highlights. Everything is generated by the Teams recording. So just to give you an idea of what's happening, a lot of investment going into the space, a lot of new tools, new features coming up. So it's really exciting time. So what I think is that AI has just had its moment. It's like we've moving into a more useful phase of AI, if I can say that, or basically where we'll see a lot of exponential growth in AI, and hopefully a lot of good things will happen. So the way I see it, we've had this movement before AI, which was like, telling the machine what to do. It's mostly dumb things. Are there people waiting to be let in or something? Hopefully not. Okay. Um, and so before AI, we were explicitly telling the machine what to do. We were doing coding, whatever way we were basically telling. It's just think of it like a rule-based thing, like an RPA, right? Now, after AI, the way, I see it is it's a subtle shift, but machine is more becoming a partner. You are learning to tell what to do. And I don't know, my AI experts here, like Kalyan may disagree, but I think it's more about understanding how to prompt it to achieve your objectives, which is something I've been exploring quite a bit. I actually keep the ChatGPT open a lot of time when I'm doing my work, including, let's say reviewing a document. It even gives you inputs in terms of reviews and all that. So, and if you're signed up for this session, you will get a document with the prompts, which you can try later on also. We'll try some of it today too. So again, create your ChatGPT account, go to chat.openai.com/chat, and it's pretty easy to sign up. And you just need to confirm your. Let's just talk about ChatGPT, and we'll bring in our guests here because this is my understanding of what it is and how it works. All right. So ChatGPT mainly is a conversational based AI, right? It's basically generating human-like responses. So it generates natural language text, which is pretty good. And that's one of the things you'll discover if you're able to sign up and do a prompt. It's one of the key things, I think three key things for ChatGPT. One is that it's using generative pre-training transformer, or what's called as GPT. And they're using GPT 3.5, and it's been trained on a huge corpus of data. Okay. So if you look at the graph on the right, you can see that it's hugely different from the earlier parameters, like 175 billion parameters. So that's one thing that has made a difference. So the data has made the difference, and then it's basically generative pre-training model basically is a large language model, and we'll look at it in a minute. And then finally, it was trained by humans. So we'll look at those two things in a minute. So basically, ChatGPT, because of that huge corpus of data, is becoming useful, it looks like. So let's look at how this GPT, or generative pre-training transformer, right? It's basically a transformer, and so it's a large language model. And the way I'm seeing it, it's like a kid whom you're teaching it to learn a language. So what it does, the transformers, it uses something called as what is it called, assistive self-attention mechanism. So it's basically aware of the words around it, and so it uses that to generate the next word, if that makes sense. So it's basically, if you look at it here, we are saying recite the first law of robotics. Then it's actually trying to guess what is the next word in that sequence. It thinks that it has both the question and answer in its huge corpus of data, and then it tries to generate the next word of that one, right? So it's basically generating things word by word. And if you look at it here, it's having a probability, so it's I just said challenges with RPA are, and then it's basically generating one word at a time based on the probability and other parameters too. And if you go to playground.openai.com, you can actually do this actually. So this is what I did, and so challenges of RPA, and then say submit, and then it basically starts generating that. Okay, so if you can also, if once you have OpenAI account, you can even go here, and then you can just say show probabilities, and then it will show you the probabilities also. I think now it will not. Okay, but so that's my quick understanding of how GPT works. It's basically generating things word by word. Similarly, if it's doing an image, it's basically doing image by image, and it knows the relationship between the images. So yeah, so let me bring in Sandeep and uh, Kalyan. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, I think you put it very well together in a nutshell. Just to a couple of other points on the way uh, the results are thrown out by the GPT engine, right? Since it's prompt based, the more accurate and meaningful your prompts are, the better results you'll get as an output. Because what it does is the large language model does is it compares with the billions of variables and data which is in the background and tries to give the best result based on what you're trying to train it to be. And when GPT 0 started, right, a couple of years back, and then OpenAI was still researching on GPT-3 and things like that, and all these tools, if you look at it as just as a toolkit to enable you to do something more in a easier fashion, just like how RPA started back long back with task level automation and then slowly grew up to one level, right? Adding an arm and leg to your entire ecosystem and just giving the brain power to use it in an efficient fashion. And as Nandan said, it can be both good and bad depending on what you want to use it for. I know it's ChatGPT has been known for all the bad things, especially in Q4 2022, especially after kids started using it a lot to cheat in exams. But then I think that's a whole another topic that is very political in nature, which is also delicate. So I don't want to delve into it. But in a nutshell, prompt-based programming, I would like to call it, is all about the stronger your prompt is to the engine, the stronger the results you get. And I think Nandan put it very well. It's exactly like training your kid, right? From a toddler to a young adult, the way they absorb everything like sponge, and then they spit it out when it's the right time, when it's the right situation. And also depends on how you question the kid is how you get the answer. For example, if I ask I have 11-year-old boy, and then if I ask at the end of a day, if I just ask him, hey, how was your day? The kind of response I get is, yeah, okay. And if I then change my approach and ask him, hey, my day was great. I had these many things that happened which were very positive. How about you sharing some positive things as to what happened today? And then his response will be like, okay, now my dad is in a very positive mode and he's asking me and he's only highlighting the positive things. So let me tell him what positive things happen in my life instead of just telling that, yeah, it was okay. So instead of that, he will tell, you know what, these 10 things happen. Out of that, these 5 are good. I met 5 new people, made 5 new friends. And out of that, one of the person really clicked well because we share similar interests and we kind of hit it off. Things like that is exactly how ChatGPT 3 and any ChatGPT model would work.
Okay, all right. Yep, thank you, Sandeep. All right, so that's the one of the thing. One of the things is the model itself. So we've got a model now. We've got a transformer model which is learning the language itself. So it's a large language model. It's got a lot of parameters. It's learned the language. Now, what OpenAI did was they actually came up with a spin-off called Instruct GPT, which basically was training this model to make it useful for humans, right? And so how do they do that? That's basically what they were doing using reinforcement learning, and they're calling it reinforcement learning from human feedback. So what they did was they took some labelers. So some labelers actually created the question, the prompt, as well as the answer. And then so basically they're telling the AI that if this is the prompt, this is the answer that you need to have. And then they had some of that, and then they trained that model further, and then they got a fine-tuned model which they're calling it as SFT. I forgot the full form, but it's basically a supervised learning model. Okay, so basically they got a model with refined model, and on that refined model, then what they did is they actually gave this prompt to with the sample. So as I understand, they gave some prompts to this new model, and then it generated, let's say, 4 responses, like here 4 responses, and then the labeler actually ranks whether which of the responses was useful, and based on various parameters. It's like in terms of whether it is helpful, whether it is truthful, whether it is harmless, and then it's used to train a reward model, right? So it basically gives a reward based on which, basically gives points based on which of the outputs was a fairly good output. And then finally, what they did is that they took this model and then they started giving it new prompts, and then it looked at the responses, and then based on this reward model, they kept on training it, so that the prompts which is being generated, the answers which is generated to prompts is better and better, as I understand. So I hope that makes some sense. But that basically, to understand, is that they took the model and then they, applied reinforcement learning, so that from human feedback. And I hear that there are some people from Kenya who did that, and that's another controversy. Low-paid workers from Kenya. But at the end of the day, what they did is that they have a lot of parameters. That lot of parameters made the model very good. It knows the language. It knows a lot of language. Has a lot of information. Or basically, it's like an intern sitting and just think of an intern going through the whole library of books and library of the world books. So it has a lot of information. And then now is the time when I can ask it some questions. It would, if I can ask it questions, it would does give answers, but most of it, many of that may be nonsense. So that's where the humans come in, and it's telling the humans that keeping on telling it that this is good, this is not good. And based on that, the AI itself has a reward model which keeps on refining and saying this is good, this is good, this is bad, keep on getting better. Okay, and so as you use ChatGPT, it also gets better as it progresses, as I understand. All right, I hope that makes a bit of sense. Any questions? Somebody has some questions?
Not a question directly, but just a prompt here that right now ChatGPT has a knowledge cutoff of 2021, so it doesn't train in the real time. But I see, Nandan, what you're saying is essentially once it becomes kind of real in the real time, then yeah, whatever you say could be reinforced into the model, a slightly different model. Actually, organizations are very scared of that, because if people are using their own code, putting it to the ChatGPT to refactor it or explain it better, then they might use that for training. So while it is a strength, it could also come out as a weakness for the model.
Yeah. And like you say, it's a food for thought whether more parameters is a better model. But I think, I mean, yeah, that's probably.
So one other point, Nandan, right? Like, yeah. I think they're talking about bringing in GPT-4 model. Like how different would be GPT-4 as compared to GPT-3? Like they're talking about it would be 500x of GPT-3.
Yeah.
So they have to probably do more SFT plus reinforcement to kind of build that up.
Yeah,
curious to learn that. Yeah,
that's true. No, that's true. Yeah, more reinforcement, but also more parameters. Like Kalyan is saying, more parameters doesn't necessarily mean more performance. I think there will be a stage where there will be like diminishing returns of it. But actually, one of the things is, even now, many of us don't know whether this AI is learning or is just regurgitating whatever we are telling, feeding it. So it's again, that's what I said. There is some magic to it, because not everyone understands still how this is. It goes through a set of decoders and it throws out something which is amazing. So that's where the prompts come in, because even many of these people are now doing research on prompts and how we can prompt the machine to do better. And I think that's one way to make it more practical.
Yeah, I would say it will probably lead to job creations around a whole new title called prompt engineer, or prompt engineering, which is basically catching attention in the field of talent acquisition. Companies like Google and Facebook are actually looking out in the market and trying to hire fresh engineers out of college and train them and rebrand them and put them out in the market as prompt engineers. And if you compare, at the end of the day, all of the results that's thrown out of the GPT engine, if you look at GPT-0, the confidence levels that it had was 50 to 60%. ChatGPT-3 as of now has a confidence level of around 85% to 90%. Again, it's debatable in terms of what is the actual usage that you want to use it against. But I think somebody told about what would the efficiencies of scale when it comes to ChatGPT-4 is going to be. So the more data to get it reinforced against, the more parameters kind of used, and the better prompt-based engineering approach that we take, the better results it will yield is all I would like to say.
Okay, thank you, Sandeep. Let's move a bit fast. I'm behind time. There's a lot of things I have here. So what's happening overall is that whatever is happening is it's basically surpassing many human baselines, like this diagram is showing. It's basically in terms of learning language, learning handwriting. It seems I don't know about handwriting, but it's giving basically superhuman results now. But it's in real world it falls short, but its reading comprehension, language comprehension has improved a lot. So let's look at a few use cases. This is more of a generative AI, sorry. From text to code to image, speech, video, many other use cases. And it's interesting that here in other, they have an RPA too. This is from Sequoia, where they're the investment company. So a lot of companies here and a lot of applications here. So let's just look at a few of them. So generative AI, you can give in a text, and again we're talking more of prompts, just like Sandeep said, prompt is probably the more important thing, right? So it's you're taking a prompt, generating a text here, like here robots fighting in style of Rembrandt, right? So it's basically generating text and synthetic video. So you can select any of these characters there and give it text. It will start talking in terms of how you want it. Video editing, this I find very interesting. Like this image on the left, it's a winter photo. You can just say make it summer, and then the generative AI is looking at parameters to make it summer, and then it looks like a summer. This is playground.ai, by the way. It can generate audio, so just tell it captions like this is a soundtrack for a game, it should be upbeat, it should be fast paced, and it generates some music. That's again awesome. So code, this is something very practical happening right now. Copilot has got this GPT-3 built into it, and this is Andrej Karpathy. He's one of the probably the best AI programmer out there, and he says 80% of his code is now generated, and then he says all he do is really prompt and edit, no coding, prompt and edit. So that's kind of where probably, and Copilot is one of the first real use cases. So it's probably an indicator of things to come. And this is another thing. It's a site called mixo.io. There's many websites. I just said it, create a website like, for automate for a startup. Like I said, AI startup that automates all your repetitive work in HR. It generated a landing page, even like some codes out there for you to get started. So even create new websites, right? So what do you think? I mean, what could be some of the use cases that you can think of? We'll put it here in the mural or in the chat if you're not a member, so that we can talk about it. So I'm just moving a bit fast now. So some use cases for enterprises. This is from McKinsey. And so I think some of the key use cases will come for the enterprises is in marketing, because a lot of marketing content, guides, sales copies, everything can be generated. Operations, like customer support, chatbots, that we can see is going to improve, and this is something from an automation world also is going to be very interesting. Identifying errors, streamlining the customer service. IT and engineering, we saw just now, you can write code, automatically generate various things, synthetic data. I think HR, self-serve HR has been one of the areas which has been using chatbots, like take an employee handbook and you can answer questions. That will all get much better. and a lot of things, so creating presentations, writing emails. So these are some things we'll see, because that's something which can improve your productivity as well. Review documents, there's so many use cases. So like Gartner says, these are some of the industries where it could start helping, like automotive, for material science, for generating design parts, architecture, engineering, healthcare providers. So quite a bit of use cases. There's a lot of exploding use cases right now. The only thing is, I think, as people are cautioning, especially people like Kalyan, as could be really harmful. So model may be making up a lot of this stuff, and it basically is like a sales guy. Okay, if you've been that in that place where you don't know the answer, then you're making it up very confidently and saying it very confidently. That's what ChatGPT does. So be very careful. It can deliver things very confidently. It at this moment doesn't know how to say I don't know. So it basically gives you confident stuff, but it may be all wrong. It can even produce toxic output, and it may not be following the instructions that you're giving. And that's where I think, as Sandeep said, have good prompts, and that's what we'll talk about next. Making prompts and how to get ChatGPT to work. So I hope you guys could sign up. Anyone had something there? I'm going a bit fast.
Nandan, there are good salesperson also.
Like you, okay. Point taken, sir. All right. So here are some simple prompts that we can start with. So if you guys have not, I would encourage you guys to go start your ChatGPT. Let me see my ChatGPT still working. Hopefully it is, okay. And then let's start with some simple prompts, right? So if you want to learn something, do something, you can just ask it some questions like, simple questions. What's the difference between this and that? Where is the capital of Rome? I didn't want to start with that. Capital of Italy, or capital of some country. So there's some simple prompts. So let me paste these prompts as promised in the chat. So if you guys have the chat GPT open, you can copy paste some of this, whatever you like, and see what it is generating, right? Just for fun, right? So here is one: write a unique and engaging business case for AI and RPA automation project. Let's try that. We are at 39, so hopefully we have some time. So you can see that it's actually generating things word by word. It's like putting one step in front of the other, but then it's looking at, okay, this is about AI and RPA. So this could be, this could be the words that could come. Like, I had a dash for breakfast. That's how it's been trained. So based on the corpus, there's so many things. I had toast for breakfast, I had idli for breakfast, I had oats for breakfast, a lot of things. So it basically calculates the probability, and it says, considering this is an RPA question, maybe this is the next sequence to it, right? But if you look at it, it is actually generating something which looks coherent. The only thing is, you want to be careful in terms of you checking whether these are really facts or these are something just hallucinating. So that's something to check for. But if you look at it, most of the time I generate things, it's pretty good. It gives you the ideas at least, and then you can build on that one. So that's the simple prompt. And so, but again, as we said, the prompts become better as the answers become better as the prompts become better. And how do you make the prompts better? Give it more information, right? Give it more information. For example, give it more context. So here I said, how can tools like ChatGPT change my IT service business? So it's giving an answer, but I'm just now telling it, act like a Big Four management consultant. So it's basically having a context, how which answers to look for, and then write a strategic recommendation. Then it actually creates a cool report for us, right? So here is one. This is a course I took, and I want to share with you guys, how one of the prompts could look like. So prompt engineering, again, as Sandeep said, is a field in itself. It's developing. Encourage you guys to look at that, because that's the next big thing. It's not about programming, because explicit programming, even creating RPA, those are things. Even we'll look at it right now. It can even generate UiPath code. So what if you know the right prompt to do it? So here is one way to do it. So let me paste one prompt here, so you can this is the previous thing that I showed you, but let us, oops, where is the chat? Okay. So this is one prompt here. Okay, so let me paste that prompt. I put that in the chat also if you want to try. So one more thing, what it is generating for me may not be what it will generate for you. Again, if I regenerate that, it will again generate completely new things. I have seen that the answers can completely differ. So it's basically going by probability at each instance. So results vary between people, even between time when we do that. Okay. So we put a prompt here. We are saying act like a big consultant, and then giving it a task. So just looking at the slide here, so we're giving it simulating a persona, simulating what you want it to behave like. Then we are giving it a task that here, build a report, and then we are telling it, we can tell it steps to complete it. Okay, so I think we did not give it steps yet. We didn't give it the steps, we just gave it a topic. So this one more best practice is give it a topic, so that tomorrow if you want a newer topic, you can just change the topic and put another topic and use the same prompt, right? So now let's give it some task to do, like give it more context and tell it what task it needs to do better. So okay. So here again, I'm going to put that in the chat. Again, I'm putting the complete prompt there. So it's a bigger prompt, as you can see, and it's a very interesting field in terms of how you construct the thing. So earlier we didn't tell it what the client was. Now we are saying that the client is Amazon. We're also telling it how we want it. We're saying we provide a comprehensive overview, break it down into 3 steps, I say tips, give problems, give actions, give specific examples. So what it does is it actually goes into each of those things and look at the tips, tips, and it puts 3 points there, and then problems and 3 points there. Now one of the things that I was surprised by is that when I gave it to Amazon as the client last time, it did look up that Amazon is an e-commerce giant and all those things, and use that to generate the report. So it actually has a context in terms of its knowledge to understand what it needs to generate. So here we are, it's giving recommendations for it's a leading e-commerce company. So it's basically understanding that Amazon is an e-commerce company. Okay, how does it look so far? Anyone able to try it, or I think no one is trying? Did anyone try?
Doesn't open up for me, Nandan. So somehow it says it's at capacity.
Yeah, it's many times. So one more thing I noticed is that people, like, if you have open, probably you need to open it early. Some people are pasting things. So okay. What is that, Josh? Okay. All right. So one last thing. So if we do all these things and now we want to format it in a certain manner, we can do it too. So I'll just show you how it quickly does it. So actually, if you want to format it, let's say as a table, it actually generates that as a table. So now I told it summarize your response in a markdown table. So you will see that it starts generating a table out of it. Okay. So actually, some people, the slides that you saw here for which use cases McKinsey had put out, somebody had generated a better response using ChatGPT from what McKinsey had written. So basically, I don't know, how. So basically, all the consulting work, could quite a bit be automated using this one, right? All right, so that's what this is what we saw here. I just put the screenshots here so that in case ChatGPT is not accessible, I am also using the free version. So, and by the way, it's now $20. So earlier they said 42, now it's $20. So it's not out of reach. So yes. Okay. So so some mistakes to avoid. Not being specific about goals, and this is from the course that I took, not asking to reduce the output. Yeah. So one of the things with ChatGPT generates a lot of content. So better say concise report or something like that. Don't ask it different topics. If you're asking about, let's say, process mining, stay on process mining. Otherwise, it starts getting confused. Don't prompt in the negative, always in the positive. I think something like Sandeep gave an example of his kid. Don't ask it to do math. Math is generally a problem, but now they're coming up with ways it can do math too, using prompts. So, and keep iterating till you get a good response. All right. So I just wanted to bring in Kalyan here. Any thoughts, Kalyan?
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing me. Nandan, I think just finishing your last sentence, if you want to do math, there is another thing called Wolfram Alpha. It's a generative service long time back. It powers your Apple Siri. Try that as well. You can give it complex integrals and it gives you back. So at the end, what I wanted to say is this is not the only generative. This is one time in model, which would seem to have captured a lot of attention from a lot of people, a lot of imagination ran wild. And now, eventually, what I see going forward is the text, the video, and the audio. Everything will come together. So I'm looking forward to a day where this can make its own movie. It can produce its own movie, animation movie to start with, end to end. However, some of the cases that I'm looking at McKinsey, like generate synthetic data, probably not ready for that right now, right?
Oh, okay.
So there are certain things that are further in the mile marker. We'll get there. But at the moment, try not to put your private data there. It doesn't differentiate between SSN and non-SSN. So be very careful if you're transacting with your company data and company perimeter data, because it could eventually be monitored.
Yeah. Abundance of caution. Yeah, especially be careful what data it's giving, what you're giving it. And I think though, Kalyan, I think, people are already training it with their own data. So I'm thinking you can have, using OpenAI on Azure, you can have your own versions of ChatGPT, which you can use internally. In that case, it's better, right? So,
let me clarify it. There are multiple versions of GPT, like you mentioned, ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT 3.5, GPT, and then you have Instruct GPT, and now ChatGPT. So ChatGPT doesn't yet allow training an additional layer on top. That's what you mean by probably training with your own data. So if I can ask, how do I do expense reimbursement in Fannie Mae? It doesn't know. It doesn't know Fannie Mae by itself. Right. However, the previous generation of models from Azure, especially when you mentioned Azure, is they allow to train an additional layer, which gives you the context, and you can keep that model private. Till GPT-2, you can actually download the model and train it, and then allow it to service to your own customer group. From GPT-3 onwards, there are 750 billion parameters. It's no more. It's not easy to keep your model on your RAM, so it's serviced as an API. So still, you could train an additional layer on top. ChatGPT will also be able to do that eventually, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah, but doesn't have an API yet, I think. Yeah, use GPT-3 or GPT-4. Okay, let's keep moving in the interest of time. So how do you keep up? And this is something some people have asked me. So, I would say learn by doing, which is, we did it. Hopefully you guys could follow along. I'm sending you some prompt. So I would encourage, you to try it out. Try some online courses. I did try some. Pretty good, because people are actually exploring it. This is moving very fast. Lot of new startups coming up in the space. So look at it. A lot of new courses also coming up. Look for mentors and coaches, people who know AI, like we have some in the community. So yeah, that's one more thing, be part of communities, because it brings in different perspectives. Like ChatGPT hallucinates, but we also hallucinate, and we think what we are thinking is right. But generally, when you hear others' perspectives, then you understand, oh yeah, that's a right too, right? So let's talk about how it's impacting automation, and then we'll open it up for some. We'll talk about your post-its. And Sandeep, I know you need to leave 5 minutes early, so that's fine. So prompt-based automation and how it this is something I've this is my conjecture at this point of time, how things will evolve in automation, because this I'm thinking will impact intelligent automation. It's already impacting. And if you look at Microsoft Power Automate, there is this feature where you can go and describe what you want to automate. It's basically a prompt, and then it gives you a flow. It's giving you a suggestion in terms of this could be the flow if you do you want to use it, right? So if you go to Microsoft Power Automate, yeah, you can basically describe the flow. So let's say send. So it tells you what all it can do. So just like an earlier chatbot, if you will. So you say that, and then it will generate suggestions for you, and then you can take that, say next. This is not useful. I tried that, but if it is giving a good response, then you can try next, and then it will configure the flow for you. Same thing with UiPath. The UiPath doesn't have anything like that right now, but you can generate UiPath code using ChatGPT. You can just say generate UiPath code for something. Like I said here, generate UiPath code to read in Excel, range in Excel. And so such smaller tasks, it's much more useful. And then I try to give it more like, complete use case, generate UiPath code to detect sentiments on Twitter and send an email. That was the second prompt I gave it. And it did generate a sequence. Now, a lot of it is pretty good actually. So I've written a book on RPA projects on UiPath. So I was wondering, yeah, this would have been a great thing if I had this at that point of time. So if you're actually doing UiPath, even then this is useful. It at least gives you some hints, and then you can build on it. Because it generated some sequences. I went and saw the sequences are available on UiPath, so you can use it. The most use it can be is in Python, because it's a lot of knowledge in Python. And you can actually tell it what to do. I've seen some YouTube videos where like people here on the right, use Python and pandas, do this on an Excel sheet. So whatever you're doing, like a drag and drop on UiPath, instead you're telling it in terms of a prompt, in terms of what you want to do, and generate a Python code for it. And you need little understanding of Python, but once you compile that code, it actually gives you useful code which you can run, and then it's an automation. And it could even give an error. You can ask again ChatGPT, give me this error, what can I do? And it gives you an updated code, and then you can run that, right? So
I want to just give you a proof point. I do majority of my coding now with ChatGPT, to be very frank. So it's much better than me, the better styling, I learn a few standardizations from that after so much time in the industry.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, even Andrej Karpathy was saying the same thing. 80% of his code is already now prompt based. So that's where the focus is on prompts, and so learn prompting, right? Last thing, and I'll end with this, I promise. So now that this is possible, people, what they're doing is that they are actually teaching the AI to do tasks. So earlier RPA, what we are doing is drag drop things, and then we are explicitly telling this is what you need to do. There's a recorder which does a part of it, but here in this AI world, you can actually just carry out the tasks. AI learns, and then it starts carrying out the tasks when you tell it to, using some prompts. So here is an example from a company called Adept. They're actually working in the consumer space. It's not enterprise, but still look at what it can do. They have a large scale transformer. They're calling it as ACT1. It observes what is happening in the browser. For example, here it's on Salesforce, and then it's actually taking action, right? So, you can, is it playing? It's not playing. Okay, so here it's giving a prompt, just giving a prompt, add this person as a new lead in Salesforce. It's actually going there and putting in that person in Salesforce. So something what RPA is doing, but we are not doing any code. It has actually learned how to do it based on this thing. So it can be surprise you. It can go wrong at times, but as you keep on teaching it, as I understand, it will get better. And this is for Salesforce. You can do the same thing for Excel. I hope it plays. Yeah, it's playing. Okay, and so like make a column, and then it's make a column, and it create a profit margin column. It's even put the formula. Okay, created it knows how to calculate the profit. All right, so that's an example. I think that's where we are going, from rule based to more AI based thing. And generative AI, I think, has created that moment where we are seeing that a lot of things are possible. Even I become more of a believer. And as I said, it's like before AI and after AI. So before AI was more of telling it, now is more of prompting. Machine is a partner. You're exploring that space in terms of how the partner can help you more and more. So yeah, so one of the things is, if you've signed up, you'll get prompts. So I've sent some prompts. I encourage you guys to try this out for yourself. This was very interesting, Phil, for me. Have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Yeah, if you're a club member, yeah, we'll just keep discussing this, and let's discuss this on the forums more too. So that's all I had. So if you like to go deeper, just what you like to know, any other thoughts and ideas, put it in the chat if you're not a member. But if you're a member, put it in the mural. So we have 3 more minutes. So ChatGPT 3 versus GPT differences. So I think we discussed, right? ChatGPT is mainly a conversational AI. It's basically built on top of GPT 3.5. GPT is the transformer. It's basically the model which has been trained with multiple parameters. And Sandeep, or if you want to jump in, please, but we're just a bit out of time. So interested to know its limitation. Text only, maximum limits tokens. So limitations, yeah. So
no min as such. I'll take that question. It's a very good question, and it's a very common question which even my students ask as well. I would say a best rule of thumb is to at least have minimum, the best way of prompting it through a better structure is at least a minimum 100 words to give you like pages worth of results, which are more accurate, aligned to the subject that you're asking a GPT engine. I would say is the better rule of thumb. I've tried with 150 words prompt, 100 words prompt, a 50 words prompt. Lesser it is, the more vague results you'll get, the more prompt wordings you have, which are meaningful and which actually is aligned towards what you're expecting as a result, the better result it gives. I hope that answers kind of that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandeep. Cost, I think we discussed, it's $20 per month for a pro version. It's free, but then like people face now, you may not be able to access it. ChatGPT versus other Microsoft offerings, I think it's a world of difference. The virtual agents is going to get a facelift, but Microsoft, again, one more point here. Microsoft, I think, is a big winner here because they're now a majority partner for majority, I think 49%, but they have invested. I think that's great foresight, and so you will see a lot of things coming in Microsoft here, like in Teams, it's already there. Now you will start seeing it on Word, Excel. You'll see Power Automate. You just saw it is there, but it will go GitHub Copilot. It is there. So you'll see a lot of things coming from Microsoft with this, and they have the edge. Google is trying, as someone said, Sparrow is a thing. But one of the things, again, that's one last point I want to say is, why Google lost out, even Facebook. Even Facebook, in fact, put out something, but Lee Kun, I think he's basically the one of the top guys in AI. They put it out at Facebook, but the problem was that there's a lot of constraint and a lot of thinking about it, and so they were like holding it back. And then ultimately, what happened is that it didn't pick up. But these guys, OpenAI did not have much to lose, unlike Google or Facebook, and so they put it out, and it's been like a phenomenon. So I'll stop sharing here. Thanks for sharing that, Marcin. So, all right, so that we can see each other more, I think. And then we are right at the stop of the hour. So if you guys want to drop, you're welcome to. In our club, we stay on for like half an hour after this. That's generally where a lot of magic happens because we're free to talk. And I will stop recording this if I can find where it is. And then we can talk freely. So whoever wants,
Yeah.
I have to head to a client meeting, so I'll drop. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you, everyone. I think it's a great experience, and looking forward to do a lot more around automation, AI, and ML, and hopefully we'll talk soon, Nandan. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Sandeep, for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thanks,
All right,
Nandan.
so-
I'll drop as well.
Okay,
It was
thanks
great
for joining.
being here.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
thanks,
Bye.
Kalyan. Thank you so much. All right, so some people are asking, will the recording be available? Yes, recording will be available. I'll put it on YouTube and I will share with everyone. I will also share that PDF with prompts. Along with that, I'll share the recording link as well. Okay. Thank you, everyone who joined. And if you need to drop, you can drop. If you want to stay back, as I said, this is where magic happens. So we can keep talking. I will stop the recording if I can again find the place.